lot of people that are scared to go die. Couple of them thinking they'll be living in the sky. While I'm here living, man, I gotta ask why. What am I here for? I gotta figure out.
Chapter 8. The Lord said to Moses, "Give Aaron the following instructions. When you set up the 7 lamps in the lampstand, place them so their lights shine forward in front of the lampstand." So Aaron did this. He set up 7 lamps so they reflected their light forward, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. The entire lampstand, from its base to its decorative blossoms, was made of beaten gold. It was built according to the exact design the Lord had shown Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Now set the Levites apart from the rest of the people of Israel and make them ceremonially clean. Do this by sprinkling them with water of purification, and have them shave their entire body and wash their clothing. Then they will be ceremonially clean. Have them bring a young bull and a grain offering of choice flour moistened with olive oil, along with a second young bull for a sin offering. Then assemble the whole community of Israel and present the Levites with the entrance of the tabernacle. And present the Levites at the entrance of the tabernacle. When you present the Levites before the Lord, the people of Israel may lay their hands on them. Raising his hands, Aaron must then present the Levites to the Lord as a special offering from the people of Israel, thus dedicating them to the Lord's service. Next, the Levites will lay their hands on the heads of the young bulls, present one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering to the Lord, to purify the Levites and make them right with the Lord. Then have the Levites stand in front of Aaron and his sons, and raise your hands and present them as a special offering to the Lord. In this way you will set the Levites apart from the rest of the people of Israel, and the Levites will belong to me. After this they may go into the tabernacle and do their work, because they have purified them and presented them as a special offering. Of all the people of Israel, the Levites are reserved for me. I have claimed them for myself in place of all the firstborn sons of Israel. I have taken the Levites as their substitutes for all the firstborn males along the people of Israel. For all the firstborn males along the people of Israel are mine, both of the people and the animals. I set them apart for myself, and the day I struck down at all the firstborn sons of the Egyptians. Yes, I have claimed the Levites in place of all the firstborn sons of Israel and all of the Israelites. I have assigned the Levites to Aaron and his sons. They will serve in the tabernacle on behalf of the Israelites and make sacrifices to purify the people, so no plague will strike them when they approach the sanctuary." So Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel dedicated the Levites, carefully following all the Lord's instructions to Moses. The Levites purified themselves from sin and washed their clothes, and Aaron lifted them up and presented them to the Lord as a special offering. Then he offered a sacrifice to purify them and make them right with the Lord. After the Levites went into the tabernacle to perform their duties, assisting Aaron and his sons. So they cried out all the commands that the Lord gave Moses concerning the Levites. The Lord also instructed Moses, "This is the rule the Levites must follow. They must begin serving in the tabernacle at the age of 25, and they must retire at the age of 50. After retirement, they must assist their fellow Levites by serving as guards at the tabernacle, but they may not officiate in the service. This is how you must assign duties to the Levites." Chapter 9. A year after Israel's departure from Egypt, the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. In the first month of the year, he said, "Tell the Israelites to celebrate a Passover at the prescribed time, at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. Be sure to follow all my decrees and regulations concerning this celebration. So Moses told the people to celebrate the Passover in the wilderness of Sinai or Sia, as at twilight fell as twilight fell on the 14th day of the month. And they celebrated the festival there, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. But some of the men had been ceremonially defiled by touching a dead body, so they could not celebrate the Passover that day. They came to Moses and Aaron that day and said, "We have become ceremonially unclean by touching a dead body. But why should we prevent from presenting the Lord's offering at the proper time with the rest of the Israelites?" Moses answered, "Wait here until I have received instructions from you for you from the Lord." This was the Lord's reply to Moses: "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. If any of the people now or in the future generations are ceremonially unclean at Passover time because of touching a dead body, or if they are on a journey and cannot be present at the ceremony, they must still celebrate the Passover, the Lord's Passover. They must offer the Passover sacrifice 1 month later at twilight on the 14th day of the second month. They must eat the Passover lamb at that time, with bitter salad greens and bread made without yeast. They must not leave any of the lamb until the next morning, and they must not break any of its bones. They must follow all the natural regulations considering the Passover, but those who neglect to celebrate the Passover at the regular time, even though they are ceremonially clean and not away on a trip, will be cut off from the community of Israel. If they fail to present the Lord's offering offering at the proper time, they will suffer the consequences for their guilt. And if foreigners living among you want to celebrate the Passover to the Lord, they must follow these same decrees and regulations. The same laws apply both to native-born Israelites and to foreigners living among you. On the day of the tabernacle was set up, the cloud covered it. But from evening until morning, the cloud over the tabernacle looked like a pillar of fire. This was the regular pattern. At night, the cloud that covered the tabernacle had the appearance of fire. Whenever the cloud lifted from over the sacred tent, the people of Israel would break the camp and follow it. And whenever the cloud settled, the people of Israel would set up camp. In this way, they traveled and camped at the Lord's command whenever he told them to go. Then they remained in their camp as long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle. If the cloud remained over the tabernacle for a long time, the Israelites stayed and performed their duty to the Lord. Sometimes the cloud would stay over the tabernacle for only a few days, so the people would stay for only a few days as the Lord commanded. Then, at the Lord's command, they would break camp and move on. Sometimes the cloud stayed only overnight and lifted the next morning, but day or night, when the cloud lifted, the people broke camp and moved on. Whether the cloud stayed above the tabernacle for 2 days, a month, or a year, the people of Israel stayed in camp and did not move on. But as soon as it lifted, they broke camp and moved on. So they camped or traveled at the Lord's command, and they did whatever the Lord told them through Moses. Chapter 10. Now the Lord said to Moses, "Make 2 trumpets of hammered silver for calling the community to assemble, for signaling the breaking of camp. When both trumpets are blown, everyone must gather before you at the entrance of the tabernacle. But if only one trumpet is blown, then only the leaders, the heads of the clans of Israel, must present themselves to you. When you sound the signal to move on, the tribes camped on the east side of the tabernacle must break camp and move forward. When you sound the signal a second time, the tribes camped on the south will follow. You must sound short blast as the signal for moving on. But when you call the people to an assembly, blow the trumpets with a different signal. Only the priests, Aaron's descendants, are allowed to blow the trumpets. This is a permanent law for you, to be observed from generation to generation. When you arrive in your own land and go to war against your enemies who attack you, sound the alarm with the trumpets. When the Lord your God will remember Then the Lord your God will remember you and rescue you from your enemies. Blow the trumpets in times of gladness, too, sounding them at your annual festivals and at the beginning of each month. And blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings and peace offerings. The trumpets will remind the Lord your God, of his covenant with you. I am the Lord your God. In the second year after Israel's departure from Egypt, on the 20th day of the second month, the cloud lifted from the tabernacle of the covenant. So the Israelites set out from the wilderness of Sinai and traveled from place to place until the cloud stopped in the wilderness of Paran. When the people set out for the first time, following the instructions the Lord had given through Moses, Judah's troops led the way. They marched behind their banner, and their leader was Nahshon, son of Amminadab. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Issachar, led by Nethiel, son of Zuar, and the troops of the tribe of Zebulun, led by Eliab, son of Helon. Then the tabernacle was taken down, and the Gershonite and Merarite divisions of the Levites were next in line of march, carrying the tabernacle with them. Reuben's troops went next, marching behind their banners. Their leader was Eleazar, son of Shedeur. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Simeon, led by Shelumiel, son of Zuradiad, and the troops of the tribe of Gad, led by Elisaph, son of Deuel. Next came the Kohathite division from the Levites, carrying the sacred objects from the tabernacle. Before they arrived to the next camp, the tabernacle would already be set up at its new location. Ephraim's troop went next, marching behind their banner. Their leader was Elishama, son of Ammihud. They were joined with the troops of the tribe of Messiah, led by Gamiel, son of Pedashur, and the troops of the tribe of Benjamin, led by Abidan, son of Gideon. Dan's troops went last, marching behind their banner and serving as the rear guard for all the tribal camps. Their leader was Ahzier, son of Amishadida. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Asher, led by Pagal, son of Okran, and the troops of the tribe of Naphtali, led by Era, son of Enan. This was the order in which the Israelites marched division by division. One day Moses said to his brother-in-law Hodab, son of Reuel the Midianite, "We are on our way to the place the Lord has promised us, for he said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will treat you well, for the Lord has promised wonderful blessings for Israel." But Honadab replied, "No, I will not go. I must return to my own land and family." "Please do not leave us," Moses pleaded. "You know the places in the wilderness where we should camp. Come be our guide. If you do, we will share with all the blessings the Lord gives us." They marched for 3 days after leaving the mountain of the Lord, when the ark of the Lord's covenant moving ahead of them to show them where to stop and rest. As they moved each day, the cloud of the Lord hovered over them, and whenever the ark set out, Moses will shout, "Arise, O Lord!" "Arise, O Lord, and let our enemies be scattered. Let them flee before you." And when the ark was set down, he would say, "Return, O Lord, to the countless thousands of Israel." Okay, guys, so that was our reading. That was chapter 8, 9, and 10. It was pretty quick, 14 minutes to read that. So I just want to talk about real quick. So chapter 8 talked about preparing of the lamps, and then also talking about how the Levites are kind of represented as the firstborns of all the Israelites. And so in chapter 7, when it talked about the lampstands, it said that Aaron had to set up 7 lamps in a lampstand and placed it so their lights would be shining forward. I don't know exactly forward where it would be shining, like maybe onto an altar or something like that. But I think those lampstands were the lampstands that have to be burning 24/7 under in the Lord's presence. So it just talked about that. It also talked about so how the Levites are basically, so instead of God taking all the, or having all the firstborns of all the Israelites, he uses the Levites as his own. So the entire clan of the Levites, or not clan, or whatever it is, of the Levites, which is like the Geroshite clan and all the other clans that are guarding. Actually, I'm going to try to find the different clan names. This might take a while. So anyways, as I'm flipping through these pages, so he's talking about how the Levites are his own people, basically. So the Levites were they were divided into three groups: the Merari clan, the Gershon clan, and the Kohath clan. So these were all Levite clans, and so these three clans, all the people in them, were basically, they represented the firstborn sons that are given to God, because he took the firstborn sons from the Egyptians a long time ago. Chapter 9 talked about the second year of Passover. And so it's when God said that you'd have to do the Passover again, and you had to go into the wilderness of Sinai, or Sia, and you had to basically give him praise at twilight on the 14th day of the first month of the year, and just give him praise. And I think you had to like give him an offering of some sort. I don't know exactly. And then it talked about if people were, say, you could say on a trip, maybe to their homeland or back from their homeland, or if they were unclean and couldn't go to the festival, that they would basically do the same festival and do offerings, but they would do it personally, kind of like in their own home, where they're not affecting people with their uncleanliness. It also talked about the fiery cloud, which I thought was pretty cool, that the cloud, instead of God having to keep telling Moses what to do, and probably these long things, which isn't bad, but instead of doing that, the way to get the message out to the people a lot easier, God had a cloud that basically just guided them wherever. And if the cloud stayed in one place, that's where the tabernacle would be. And once the cloud moved, the tabernacle and the entire camp would break down and move to where the cloud is going. I thought that was pretty cool. And then in chapter 10, it talked about the silver trumpets, which was basically 2 trumpets that they would blow depending on if they should move, organize, and things like that. It's kind of just signals for if there's a battle or things like that. Just how we have tornado warnings and all the different things. That's basically their type of tornado warning, but for different purposes. It also talked about when all the Israelites were actually leaving, and then how Moses was talking to his father-in-law to help them, to stay with them and help them, and that he would basically give all the things that they get from the Lord and give them to him to help them as they move throughout the land, to go where the land that the Lord has told them to go, and that's where they should be. So yeah, that was pretty much it for today, guys. It was pretty quick, only about 19 minutes. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. Bye.
Couple of them thinking I'll be living in the sky. While I'm here living, man, I gotta ask why. What am I here for? I gotta figure out. Waste my life, no, I gotta make it count. If Christ is real, then